Hey everyone, it's Matt from British Business. I'm here with James Starky on this week's episode. We chat about being visible in the digital age of AI, and we specifically get into ChatGPT's new feature, Agent Mode. It is insane. Make sure you watch. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode. I'm with James again today.
Hey, Matt.
We've just finished filming your episode, your story about Black Lab Digital. We learned a little bit about your early entrepreneurial days, which was all about selling pillowcases and duvet covers in school.
It was actually duvets and pillows, to the
Yeah.
parents. I'm sort of using the half-term reports as a
Wow.
kind of direct route to market.
What a fascinating story, or like early entrepreneurial kind of. It was great. I really enjoyed it. So thank you for that. But today, James is going to sit in instead of Tom because Tom's away on holiday. So Tom will probably listen to this episode, I suspect. So
If he's on the beach, he's going to have someone fill his shoes,
exactly.
doesn't he?
Exactly, yeah. So today we're going to be talking about, because I thought you're quite well positioned to kind of be relatively authoritative on this subject. It's about how small businesses, so the bulk of businesses in the UK, can stay digitally relevant or equip themselves with the skills to stay digitally relevant in the age of AI. And I know that your agency, your business, you're thinking all the time about how SEO and pay-per-click, how Google, for people that don't necessarily understand fully what SEO and pay-per-click is, but how Google is allowing businesses to be visible and how it's utilizing the content on websites and things like that. So the landscape is moving as we're sat here, basically, and I think it's a fascinating subject to cover.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting speaking to, I speak to you, you're aware of it, you're embracing it, you're engaging it. There's some brands that we have conversations to that you talk to them about it and it's their eyes open up, you're just releasing the news. I mean, we've been talking to people for the last 18 months, 2 years about this, really pushing it hard, that there is change coming. So we've been preparing a lot of our clients for this.
I was speaking to a friend of mine, Natalino, last night on just WhatsApp, and we were chatting about how actually AI right now, it's comparable to how majorly online retail disrupted the high street. I think it's going to be even more severe or polarizing, because if businesses don't adapt, if you look at, say, Philip Green's Arcadia group, doesn't exist anymore.
No.
And it doesn't exist because he backed the high street when the market was going in a different direction. So small business owners, they need to listen to this episode and take some nuggets away, because you need to be, in my opinion, actively using AI in your day-to-day, or starting to learn and play with it, because it's going to be the future.
Yeah, and do you know what, there's kind of two elements to it. There's the AI that's a tool that helps you do your job a little bit quicker or speed things up. But there's also the AI and how the search engine platforms are going to be utilising it. That they've just rolled it out about 3 months ago in the US. We think it's going to be what Google are calling AI mode, which will fundamentally change how Google looks to you and I when we're doing searches. We think that'll be here by Christmas, after Christmas.
Yeah.
We think by Christmas in the US, there'll be 80-90% uptake of users using it. So there's that element, which I think that's the thing I think brands really need to be trying to embrace. But at the same time, there's the day-to-day, how can you speed up your processes by using, essentially, it's essentially like having a second version of me or a helper, something that will just,
or you're being
check an email
positively augmented by AI, potentially. But going back to the search element, I think that two kind of points on that, and then we'll go into our British business fact of the week, because we're not getting away with that. And there is also the have you heard the because obviously you're a listener of the podcast.
Yeah.
What do you think of the ChatGPT question of the week? Has that emerged yet?
Yeah, I quite like it.
Yeah, because it's quite dicey. Yeah, so we've got one of those later on as well, which I think is actually more of a question for. No, actually, it's a question for both of us, so it'll be an interesting one, that. But I would say on search on Google, I think transactional keywords, so if you're selling products online, I think you'll be marginally protected because of Google's focus on paid. But then, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but then more informational search queries, that's where sites that generate traffic from that and then use that as prospecting tools for conversion into sales and revenue, that's where we're potentially going to see more of a negative impact, because Google's basically not allowing not encouraging the consumer to click through to your website.
Right, yeah.
Basically, what's happening is it's serving you with what you need to know on the face of Google, and that's my biggest fear for small businesses if they're informationally based.
There's that zero click,
Yeah,
that bit where people aren't going through. We're seeing search terms, as long as 32 words now.
yeah,
And that's from the use of AI. I think, when we did a bit of work a few months ago with you,
Yeah.
we even saw referrals from ChatGPT that were converting. So people are using these other platforms to
yeah.
shop.
I use it now. So ChatGPT, I'm just getting into running, training for a marathon in October, which is going
You're
to
a
be a
madman.
painful experience. But you need running shoes, obviously. So rather than messing around on Google, trying to find good value stuff, I just asked ChatGPT. I said, this is the pairs that I've currently got, which I like really well, that fit me really well and they're comfortable. So these are the two trainers that I've already got. Can you recommend a third pair that's good value, well priced, and got some great reviews? And it gave me 5 options, ranked in the right order, and said this is and the reasons why it had ranked it. And then you can go, can I have a link? Yeah, click.
The next the next level of that is agent to agent mode, though.
Yeah. Well,
Which is another level.
We're going to come to agent mode shortly, I think, because that's fascinating as well, which we did an episode on AI and I hadn't played with agent mode before the episode.
Okay.
And it changes it again completely. So it's fast. It's just a moving landscape. But British Business Fact of the Week, the UK digital ad spend hit £35 billion in 2024. Vast amount of money.
It's incomprehensible, isn't it?
It's an insane amount of money, making up nearly 3/4 of all media spend. So if you think about just that in an instance of so 30 years ago, all ad spend was on television and print.
Yeah.
And it's pivoted in a 30-year period to pay-per-click spend online. You've got 2 companies that are the main beneficiaries of that, Google and Meta, neither of which pay any VAT in the UK for those services, which I, to this day, do not understand why it's VAT exempt. I think they should be paying VAT on it because we pay VAT on everything else. But anyway, but it's a phenomenal amount of money that's been spent on advertising.
It is, and interestingly, I don't know if you saw in the news, Amazon's pulled their spend off Google.
Really?
Yeah, and I think Nike are talking about doing the same. Whether or not that's something to do, they're planning to do something prior to Black Friday, Cyber Monday.
Well, I would say a brand like Nike don't need to do paid advertising on Google.
Why is that?
Because they've got such dominant brand authority. So as a direct consumer brand, why would they be having a search campaign so for people listening, there's search, there's shopping, there's performance max, there's a multitude of different things within Google advertising that you can undertake to do. But they're so dominant on an organic presence on Google and in ChatGPT, they don't need, in my opinion, they don't need to spend money on paid advertising in that format because it's not brand building.
So the reason I asked you that question is because I thought that would be your answer. So I think brand is, we've almost gone full circle. There's still a reason why Coca-Cola advertise in Times Square and Trafalgar, Piccadilly Circus and things like that, because brand's important. But I think the last 10 or so years, we've been down this, we just want high intent conversion stuff. We want people that are actively searching to buy this brand of wellies in your world. Actually, with the way, back to the point about zero click search, we now need to be making sure our brand surfaces.
Yeah.
So ensuring your brand is visible, consistent, and playing in lots of different areas, not just on your website, not just on your Instagram account. That's going to get more and more important.
Yeah, more powerful, yeah.
I don't know if you saw, was it last week before, Instagram announced that brand accounts were going to then be surfaced in Google search results. My colleague Martin's been talking about this for the last 2 years. It's been coming down the road.
Yeah.
I could not get my head around why people in my world seem surprised by this. So it just shows this is the first step in making sure your content on social is reflecting you as a business and your brand properly.
Yeah, I mean, we're not doing enough as a business, I would say, on brand content. But then what I would say is I think there's a big difference between direct consumer brand and direct consumer retail. So as a direct consumer retailer, you're in a different set. And I would be really shocked if someone like JD Group, for example, pulled all Google spend because they're fighting on a transactional basis, so they have to retain that. And I'm sure ChatGPT very soon, in the next couple of years, will bring out their own pay-per-click advertising
Yeah,
potentially, or
it's
something
coming,
along
isn't
those
it?
lines. It's 100% coming. But yeah, it's interesting that about Nike. I hadn't heard that, so that's fascinating.
Yeah, I do have I can send the link to you, but
Yeah,
my
yeah,
colleague
if
flagged it
you
to me
would.
the other day. But
Very
it does
interesting.
actually though present in the short term some opportunities for
Exactly.
brands that may have been trying to compete against
Well,
Amazon and such
JD
place.
Group, who's the biggest stockist of Nike in the UK, the biggest retail arm, they're advertising to compete with their competitors, Sports Direct and what have you. It'll immediately become a lot cheaper because the cost per click will drop down because the brand isn't advertising on it. So, yeah, there's going to be opportunities, and obviously we're talking about very high level stuff there. But if you are a small business selling, say, guitar strings, and you're competing on a brand by brand basis within that arena, well, if someone were to withdraw their spend, it makes it a lot easier for you. So
Yeah.
there's going to be a lot of opportunities with the evolving, the changing landscape, and a lot of kind of problems created as well.
Yeah, I think just just to go right back to the start of this conversation, especially
Yeah,
aiming at smaller to medium sized firms, is my big takeaway from this whole conversation. I think people get blinded by and worried by AI, and actually, it's not. It it's there to. It's a tool to be worked with,
yeah,
and it is revolutionary in so many ways. But at the same time, the especially from a brand point of view, the old adage of kind of making sure you're at this point about being consistent in different spaces,
yeah,
you're not having to do that many things hugely different.
yeah,
And I think the big thing when it comes to actually using it in your day to day is just have a go. Don't be scared by it.
yeah.
Have a go. It's not going to bite your hand off.
I think people are like humans in general. I think we like comfort, we like
Yeah.
stability, we don't like change, and I think there's a lot of Natalino, again, my chat with him last night, he was saying there's a lot of people that are very fearful of AI.
Mm.
And I can understand why. And I am a little bit fearful of it as well within my own business. But my response to that fear emotion is to take action.
Yeah.
And I think any business owner that's listening to this, the taking action is have a play with it, learn with it, have a conversation with it, see what ideas it can come up with to help you run your business in terms of like whether it's data management or data analysis so that you can then make better informed decisions.
Oh, completely. I'm just going to read something off my phone because
Of
you can
course.
do some really complex stuff with it.
Yeah,
At the
yeah, yeah.
same time, I use it to check my emails for my punctuation, grammar,
Yeah,
little basic things like that. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sure you use
Well,
it for some.
for people listening, they know that I'm very on the spectrum. I'm dyslexic basically. So if I were to write an email out, it would not make overly coherent sense. So I now use ChatGPT. I mean, internal comms, people receive messages from me with no spelling or punctuation. It's a mess. But when I send external emails now, if they're of importance, I used to use Grammarly. I don't anymore.
Yeah, I used to use that.
And so as a business, they're a massive threat to their
Mm.
business because all ChatGPT's got to do is do a bolt on for Chrome or whatever, where it's built into your thing and it can.
Yep.
But anyway, so for me, it's this process, and as a result, I'm way more efficient.
Yeah, and I am too.
Yeah,
It's simple as like taking meeting notes for me and summarizing a meeting. So A, I can be more engaged with the client and listen to what they're actually saying.
yeah.
And B, I don't then have to spend the next half an hour after writing it all up or making my notes into something I can then share.
Well, one final thing, before you read is it an exchange with
No,
ChatGPT?
it's not. It is a sentence of something one of my colleagues is doing, which even I don't understand.
We'll come to that in one moment. But Loom, I've been playing with Loom
Yeah, yeah.
again. I haven't used that software for a couple of years. It's basically a piece of software that can record your video calls. So when you join a Teams chat, it kind of links into the chat and is another person on the call and it records it. But they've upgraded the software and there's loads to market, but it creates like SOPs for you, notes. So so I've been training an offshore finance role, and they basically Loom just created the SOP for me. It's just fantastic. But go on, let's hear this remark.
So I think just back to this thing about people do it. So Reese,
Yeah, great guy.
he's super technical. He
Yeah,
came into the business as an SEO copywriter, and
yeah,
yes, he still does that, but actually he does a lot more detailed technical things. So I asked him just last night for a list of some of the things he's doing with AI, and he gave me about 5 or 6 things. But the last one, actually, it's his colleague Monty. He said Monty's tied ChatGPT into Screaming Frog to get embedding embeddings for semantic vector analysis.
So so just to clarify, he's integrated. So Screaming Frog, for people listening, is a tool that crawls websites and looks for technical SEO issues. So he's hooked a Screaming Frog report into ChatGPT, and then he's using ChatGPT to analyze the data and produce a basic report.
I think in its most basic form, I would like to have him here to explain
To
exactly what
articulate
he's
it.
doing, because he will do that very well.
The problem is, because I know Monty, is he would explain it reasonably well for someone at his level, which for us, normal people, it would be challenging to...
So I think that's where people get scared of it.
Yeah,
stuff like that.
Yeah, because it's the terminology used.
Yeah, whereas I can have a really good guess over what they're doing, but it's because my background, as I mentioned earlier, is more client services. I'm more about actually the bigger picture. These guys are getting into the weeds, but in terms of time saving, so we work a lot in the automotive space, and a few of our clients
we didn't touch on that in your episode, so we're going to have to get you back in a few months' time
for round 2. That's fine.
Yeah, we'll do round 2. Yeah.
A few of us are retailers, so they run Google vehicle ads, which are essentially like Google shopping ads, but for cars. And you can pull a feed in from your website or your stock management system. The only problem is Google Ads needs a registration number.
Yeah.
But often the dealers don't put the registration number on the website, but often the VIN number's available.
Ah, right, okay.
So Craig, who's one of our performance managers, he's created a ChatGPT script that will go away, look at the VIN number. I can't remember where it gets it from, pulls the reg number down, inputs it into the feed.
Wow.
So then it's all works, and that saved him hours.
Is that via ChatGPT agent mode, or is that via...
That's just, I say it is paid for ChatGPT, but...
Are you on... Because for people listening now, ChatGPT's introduced agent mode, which we'll come to in a little bit, and how businesses can potentially utilise that. But there's different modes within ChatGPT, so if you're not using it, what I would recommend is downloading the free version or getting the app on your phone and having a bit of a conversation with it about your business. But then you can then go on to paid tiers. So I think for a while I was paying personally 30 or 40 quid a month. I pivoted us over to, I think it's ChatGPT Teams, which is basically for businesses. Mm-hmm. Are you on that setup then as well, or have you gone for the enterprise model?
No, we're sort of hovering at the moment. We're actually going to come off Office 365.
Oh, wow.
So we migrated to that 18 months, 2 years ago.
Right.
We sort of had again, part of the growth of the business, you had sporadic accounts we'd set up, and some people were using their own, and we were predominantly using Google Workspace, but as a single login, if you like. We're going to go back to Google Workspace because we think Gemini as an AI platform, because it's Google, is going to be probably the most powerful. So we're just about to re-migrate back and set up Workspace properly.
Oh God, well that is a nightmare for me. You've said that, because we're finalising basically being fully integrated into Microsoft's ecosystem. So I wish I'd spoken to you a year ago. Yeah, it's fascinating. But I think it depends how you're going to run it, whether or not you aim for your Workspace system to have the AI integrated, or whether, because I think actually 365 Teams now via ChatGPT agent mode, you can hook it all up via API anyway.
I don't think there's necessarily one best platform,
and it's going to evolve so much.
Yeah. And I think as well, like just in terms of using Google Slides, everyone just seems to prefer it. People haven't really taken to using PowerPoint properly, even though I think actually PowerPoint is a better platform. So
just to rein the conversation back in slightly, because I know this has been a very ADHD AI conversation here, so we've just hopped around massively. If you were speaking to a small business owner that's not leveraging AI at all, so they've not had a conversation with it, what would your kind of like, if you were to put it in 5 like stages or steps, or 3 steps of what you think they should do in terms of how they should start to interact with AI, what would you recommend?
I think as a most basic level, just download ChatGPT, or if you don't have it, you can use the web browser version, or Gemini. Just get a little account on there. It takes 2 minutes. And start thinking about what tasks that take time but are sort of quite basic. So for instance, if we do a session in the office, we'll write stuff on the whiteboard. You can take a picture of that, upload it to ChatGPT, and it'll write all the notes out for you. So start really small, those little things, and you'll gradually evolve a way of working. Because the way I use it's very different to you, very different to the way Reese or Sam in my business would use it. And you'll find your own little niche with it. And I think not to be afraid of just having a go. And at first you might think, well, okay, yeah, it can write my notes for me. Then you can start vibing off it. And once it learns a bit more maybe about your
Yeah.
business, it can start not say advising you, but helping drive clarity on decisions.
This is something that I was listening back to my conversation with Morgan and Tom about AI and business, and this is kind of a continuation on from that really, but your take on it. And in that episode, we kind of touched on this topic, and I think it's very interesting how businesses are interacting now and how it will evolve over time.
Mm.
So what that journey of how we will utilize it. But I think the key thing for me is if you can download it, get it rolling, but then just have a conversation with it about the best way to well, once you've told it about your business and the fundamentals of it, ask it what it would recommend you have a go at,
Yeah.
because it's very intuitive and it understands. So if I start going, I'm an online retailer, I use Shopify, I use Klaviyo. We've got a bit of an issue with, I don't know, stock, which is always a problem in our business. We either have too much stock or not enough stock. And immediately it chucks out ideas. And if you just think about this podcast as a standalone scenario, we record the sessions. It goes onto YouTube. I download the transcript. I feed it into ChatGPT, so it knows exactly what's been discussed, every single word it's got access to,
Yeah.
and it understands what our podcast is about. And then I go to it. I'm doing an episode with James Starky, and I want to talk to him about his origin story. But then I also want to do another episode with him where we talk about AI and the impact on business. Can you write me some show notes that I can make reference to just as prompts during the episode? And it does it. And now the big change that's happened in the last 2 weeks is agent mode.
Yeah.
So in the past, what I was doing, so this is how much it's changing. So 3 months ago, I would go through that process, and I would then copy and paste out of ChatGPT into my Google Doc. Last night or the night before, when I was finalising these, I asked Agent Mode to do it for me, and it just said it's done. And then I go to the Google Doc, and it's in the Google Doc already because I've given it API access to to all my Google Sheets and Google Docs.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
But you multiply that saving of 10, 15 minutes across your day, you've all of a sudden got an hour or two back.
And I'm also conscious that some of my competitors listen to this, so I'm not going to say some of the stuff that we're doing. But the agent mode, I've had it doing tasks for me, which would have taken me or Robert a day to get our head around. And what it's done is it's built a framework out on how to implement a change or a pivot within the business. So you've got to use it at a bit of an arm's length, but I think you need to make sure you're engaged with it.
Yeah.
That's the key. Like, I think it should be almost a part of your day, checking in with ChatGPT. The other thing is ChatGPT projects. Have you seen that? So you can
I know I haven't played with it really.
So that's really good, really, really good, because, and I'm sure Monty and Martin probably have, because those guys are experts. We need to get Martin on at some point. I'd love to get Martin on to have his take on it. But you can, within ChatGPT, set up a project for, well, I've got one for British business. And what I do, I put the transcripts in, but it can see all the conversations I've had. So separate chats, but it knows what's been said.
It learns like a person, doesn't it?
Now, at the moment, it's relatively basic, but what is that going to be like in 5 years' time?
So one of our guys, Craig, he's created a local version, which isn't essentially connected to the internet, but he's taught it about all of his clients that he works on. So he's now able to then run decisions by it. So maybe download the most recent data from a campaign, upload it and go, I'm thinking of doing this in terms of what do you think? And it'll go, well, have you considered this? Have you done this? Why don't you do that? Oh, yeah, it's a really good idea. On the flip side, from me, I said to him, that's a great onboarding tool. Because if you, Matt, started in our business tomorrow and working with Craig, you don't have to rely on Craig telling you everything now about that client, and he'll forget stuff.
Yeah.
Anybody would.
Yeah, exactly.
So you could sit him down from that and say, right, tell me all about Holland's Country Clothing or whatever brand. So yeah, it's a hugely powerful tool, and I think it frees you up to get more creative.
100%, or do the things that ChatGPT or AI can't do at the moment. Whether that's supporting your people or doing X or Y. It's an enabler at the moment. That's the key thing. So going back to the primary question, because I'm just conscious of time on this episode, we talked about, so have a play with ChatGPT, maybe feed it with some data, ask it some questions about your business. Is there anything else people should be considering utilizing AI for around the business? Is there anything that like scenarios that you've come across where you're like, this is fascinating?
Well, there's one reason we're going back to Google, and then you can do it on Microsoft, but Google Workspace, because Gemini is tied into all of that and part of the package, if you like.
Mm-hmm.
It obviously then knows about all your files.
Yeah.
So I could say, right, I've got an agreement with Matt Holland
Yeah.
to deliver
X
X
and
and Y. Can't remember how much I quoted for phase 2, or what is my delivery date for phase 2.
Right.
So then rather than have to go, right, where's the
Find the
Matt Holland
document, yeah.
file or the Holland's file, then go in and find that project. It'll just go, right, phase 2 is delivered in September, on the 1st September. So you know what you're doing. That's been impressive. I think for me, the most impressive thing I have seen has been the number plates
Yeah.
thing, because
Yeah.
Craig would have had to have done that manually.
Now your guys are they're your team, your business, you will be leveraging AI at a much deeper and faster rate than a lot of small businesses.
Yeah, I think you said it earlier. I think we're probably, as with many people in our industry, ahead of that curve. Yeah.
If you're behind the curve now, what people need to do, what we're saying is basically just have a play. Don't be scared of AI.
Yeah.
Get involved with it. Have a conversation with it. You'll be surprised.
You could even download and say, "This is my job role. This is my business. I do these things. How could I leverage you?"
Exactly.
And it will give you some brilliant.
That's my
inspiration.
challenge to anyone from a workwear business through to an ice cream business, whatever it might be. I think you've got to do it.
Yeah. So you could, if ice cream business, it could start looking at your stock. If you had a proper stock management system or a way of doing it, it could then start looking at when you're getting low and you need to order more sugar or cream or whatever. Yeah. And your agent could start doing that if it could deal with.
You can have it. You can set automations as well with ChatGPT now, so it can run checks at certain times of the day. It's fascinating. So ChatGPT question of the week. This is quite an interesting one. I think it's about content. So, is using AI to write your personal brand posts cheating? So for LinkedIn and things like that. So do you think it's cheating if we're on LinkedIn? And I think LinkedIn now, we're seeing a lot of AI created posts. Can you tell when they're written by AI?
I think so. On some occasions you can do. I can't remember who I spoke to about it. Someone I know has a suspicion that LinkedIn will be penalising you for doing that.
Hopefully.
I don't know if I can't validate that, and that's just what somebody said to me. I think that's probably right, because ultimately, and the same with search engines, they want human-generated content.
They want primary source information.
Yeah. And I can go on ChatGPT and say, "Give me an opinion on why this blue sofa is brilliant." Yeah. But actually, if I asked you why that blue sofa is brilliant, you give me a much more nuanced answer, but also personal to you. Yeah. That can't be replicated.
I suppose the gap to the put between now and the point that humans will be replaced is when AI can experience that primary experience itself, and we're probably decades away from that, because it would have to have some kind of robotics that it's implanted in, which would be able to have to feel and smell and feel the wind on its face. We're a long way away from that. So to a certain degree, for a long time, primary source information is going to be really important. So if you're a business producing content, whether it's blog posts on LinkedIn or on your website, do it yourself, be authentic.
Yeah, completely. And we've also done tests about using AI content on websites. You'll get an initial spike of it being ranked, and then it'll crash. You. So don't use it very
copyright or something from an SEO perspective. You've got to be very careful. Yeah, definitely. Okay, well, fast fire episode that was good. That was quite good. I'm trying to do more short and sweet episodes because I think people, they tend to drift off, so we just rapid fired there, which I think was quite good. So if you're listening, please make sure you subscribed on YouTube and that you've kind of got the notifications on. And if you could give us a review on Spotify, that's really helpful. And to find James, just type in James Starky on LinkedIn, or search Black Lab Digital on Google or ChatGPT, maybe.
Yeah.
If you want to know about his business.
We surface very well on GPT.
Exactly. So yeah, thank you for listening, guys.
Great. Thanks for having me, Matt.
Cheers, James.
Thanks.